Madam President, as President pro tempore of the United States Senate, and as the senior senator for the great state of Utah, I wish to speak today about the John S. McCain National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2019. I join my colleagues in congratulating my good friend, Senator John McCain, on the soon-to-be successful passage of the 58th straight defense bill. I would also like to offer my sincere appreciation to Senators Inhofe and Reid and their staffs who, along with Senator McCain's staff, gracefully navigated the committee and the floor processes. This is a monumental bill that will truly modernize our armed forces. I have long appreciated the bipartisan nature of each year's NDAA. Some would say that this process could be seen as a microcosm of how things should work here in Congress by putting the good of the country ahead of politics. It's certainly how I've sought to do things here during my Senate service. I also appreciated the efforts from most members of this body to get to yes on such an important proposal. The yearly defense bill is not something we do out of tradition or habit. We do it out of necessity. Yes, it is a constitutional requirement, but perhaps more importantly, it is an honor to give our men and women in uniform the tools they need to keep America safe. The policies and authorizations we've debated on the floor over the last week represent people. They represent soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, and the civilian workforce, all of whom are family, friends, neighbors, and fellow citizens. Since first coming to the Senate in 1977, I have witnessed the use of military force for good across the globe. I was personally involved in helping use our military tools to counter Soviet expansionism in Central Asia. It was around that time that I helped establish the National Endowment for Democracy, an initiative in which Senator McCain was intimately involved. The National Endowment for Democracy embodies our commitment to promoting the virtues of freedom and liberty across this globe. Anyone who knows me knows that I like to see the good in people. But even with my optimism, one unfortunate truth exists. There are people and groups in this world that seek to do harm to the United States. And our men and women in uniform face these threats every day. I am eternally grateful for the sacrifice and dedication of our service members. I am grateful for their strength, their intelligence, and their commitment to preserving the values we hold dear. As we see today with the heinous violations of human rights around the world, freedom, prosperity, and security are under constant threat. The abusive actions of the governments of Iran and North Korea are just two examples among many. Given the constant threats our country and our allies face, we must always work to maintain a strategic advantage over our adversaries. We must be able to win wars without fighting them. And if we need to fight, we need to begin wars having already won them. How do we do this? By investing in our military and the civilians who support them, giving them more of what they need, not less. By modernizing our weapons systems, by taking care of our bases and facilities, and by never losing sight that people come first and that our obligation to them extends beyond their service to the nation. That's what we've accomplished with this year's NDAA, which covers an unprecedented $716 billion in support of the Department of Defense and national security and the National Security Program of the Department of Energy. With this historic bill, members of our armed forces will enjoy a 2.6% pay increase. With this legislation, we also increase personnel for all branches of the military. This bill represents a significant step forward in the modernization of our armed forces. The future fighting force of high-tech warfare is quickly becoming a reality, but we cannot rest on our laurels. Just as our adversaries modernize their forces, we have to do the same. I think we can all agree that maintaining our strategic advantage against now near-peer adversaries must always be our objective. So how do we prepare our future fighting force? We continue to modernize through recapitalization efforts like the F-35, KC-46, and the future ground-based strategic deterrent. We have to maintain our competitive edge. We must also focus on attracting talent and shoring up the supply chain. In serving Utah, I have been honored to represent the hardworking men and women of our major military installations: Hill Air Force Base, Dugway Proving Grounds, Tooele Army Depot, Camp Williams, and the Utah Test and Training Range that cannot be duplicated. Contained within this bill are necessary increases to keep these installations manned and operational. Utah is a wonderful place that provides extensive support to the warfighter through advanced manufacturing, training, and operational capabilities. Madam President, I have faithfully worked on behalf of the people of Utah and the people of this great country for the last 42 years. As a symbol of my respect for our men and women in uniform, I wish to express my sincere reverence and gratitude for all who have given the ultimate sacrifice in serving our country, including the over 330 Utahns who have died while on active duty service since 1976. I likewise wish to honor their families, whose sacrifice is just as great. That we are able to accomplish so much with this defense bill is credit to the leadership of Senator John McCain and others, but certainly Senator McCain, who has been a key part of this legislation over the course of his Senate service. Senator McCain is so much more than the chairman of the Armed Services Committee. He is an American hero who represents the best this nation has to offer. I know I speak for all of my colleagues in thanking him for his service and sacrifice. Now, Madam President, with that, I yield the floor.